The Blood Elves are one of two elven factions found in the giant online role-playing game World of Warcraft. It is arguably the most influential game ever created, having a massive impact on the fantasy genre and can be considered part of modern-day mythos. As part of a series studying the architecture of fantasy cultures, I will study the Blood Elves and their capital city, Silvermoon, to see what values are embedded in the design. In the video, I have created an illustration of Silvermoon, where I have fused the original design with different real-world buildings that I believe serve as reference for the design of Blood Elves. The plan of Silvermoon, the Blood Elf capital, is similar to the plan of ancient Babylon. It is a rectangular plan with a tower in the middle, with a river running through on the left side. The river is replaced by a giant scar from when the city was attacked by an undead army marching through the kingdom. The walled city of Silvermoon sits within a protective enclave surrounded by a corrupted, hostile landscape. This mimics the Persian walled garden, which was the origin of the idea of paradise and the Garden of Eden. At the entrance to Silvermoon, I placed the gates of Babylon. Following the gates is a ceremonial path to the palace in the center of the city. The gate was built by Nebuchadnezzar, famous for ruling Babylon during its heyday, but also for the destruction of Judah and the plundering of the Temple of Solomon. Nebuchadnezzar is associated with the god Marduk, the sun calf. The golden calf is referenced in the Old Testament as a false icon. As I adopted it for Silvermoon, I altered the colors and symbols to fit the Blood Elves. At the gates, we find a giant statue of Kael'thas, the leader of the Blood Elves. His surname is Sunstrider, evoking the image of Icarus, who strove for the sun with his wax wings, but fell to his death. Lastly, we see a phoenix, the symbol of the Blood Elves, promising the return of their greatness after their fall. At the center of the city, we find Sun Fury Spire. The Blood Elves are excellent magicians, and it's not surprising to see a tower being the main feature of the city. For in fantasy, there is a long tradition of wizards inhabiting towers, which draws from a great many historical references. The archetypical mythological tower is the Tower of Babel. It is a story of a people who sought to challenge God by building a tower reaching to the heavens. But God ultimately put a stop to their venture by creating different languages, inhibiting the builders from communicating, and leading to the downfall of the kingdom. The myth is based on the actual Tower of Babel, a giant ziggurat at the center of Babylon. The temple is at the heart of the ancient cities, served as a centralization of power, housing a priestly bureaucracy, and often grain storage which was obtained through taxation. Towers are feats of engineering built to showcase the wealth of its inhabitants. To this day, engineers are constantly aiming to build higher and higher. The world's tallest tower, the Burj Khalifa, stands at over 1 kilometer tall in the center of Dubai, an oriental metropolis like the stories of old, but with a modern twist of late capitalism. From the tall towers, the powerful can view their subjects. Their vantage point is like that of the Panopticon, a structure imagined by Jeremy Bentham, used in prisons where each inmate never knows when they are being watched, and therefore act like they're always being watched. Towers also played a significant role in astronomy. Astronomers used them to observe the night sky with telescopes made by literally cutting-edge lenses. Their ability to predict celestial movements made them clairvoyant. Towers were also used to house homing pigeons, an ancient system of long-distance communication. They were used in many parts of the world, but the most iconic ones are found in Iran. They're covered in tiny holes for the pigeons to perch. They were mainly used by scholars and their rulers' bureaucracy, associated with the Magi. Bell towers and minarets play a crucial role in religious communities, serving as audible markers for times of worship. The chimes of the church bells and the calls from the minaret create a sense of rhythm and order within a community. Clock towers, as keepers of time, represent precision and order, synchronizing the movements of the population through illusory means. They are exquisite feats of engineering, relating to the wizard's intellect. Towers could also hold information, as libraries, keeping valuable books safe from damp cellar air, flooding, or thieves. The towers served as safe refuge for books such as ledgers of debt, royal history, law, or religious texts. Sunfury Spire combines many of these references, being both a palace and a great library. The Blood Elves are evil wizards practicing fell magic and writing in cryptic runes, following an Oriental trope of evil sorcerers such as Jafar from Aladdin from the 1001 Arabian Nights. Most of these stories take place in Baghdad during the 6th century. The city was at the time the largest city in the world, home to many academies. The scholars of multiple religions were studying philosophy, astronomy, and mathematics. They were considered heretics by the dogmatic Christian Church of Europe, and many texts were forbidden, such as Aristotle's text on laughter. The idea of evil forbidden knowledge from the East is epitomized by Lovecraft's Necronomicon, supposedly written by the mad Arab Abdul al-Hazred. Silvermoon resembles Baghdad with its onion domes, white stone, and intricate decoration. We shall see how in many ways Silvermoon makes use of problematic tropes from Orientalism, as outlined by Edward Said. For instance, it houses a bazaar, the most literal example of the Oriental influences of the Blood Elves. In the game, the bazaar appears almost empty due to technical limitations. However, we can imagine it bustling like the Grand Bazaar of Istanbul, with stalls selling silks, spices, and other exotic goods. Leading off from the bazaar is Murder Row, an alley home to thieves and warlocks, as well as blood elves addicted to mana, a metaphor for exotic drugs like opium and hashish. At night, the tone becomes even darker. A sexualized demon known as a succubus stands outside an inn with dim lighting and purple velvet-covered beds. The scene suggests a brothel, which is unusual for a game with a parental advisory rating of 13. This depiction aligns with the Orientalist trope of sexual promiscuity, reinforcing the idea that Eastern cultures are places of unchecked indulgence and moral ambiguity. The starkest example of this trope is found in the film 300, which depicts the Persian king Xerxes' court as a place for orgies and queer eroticism. This echoes the biblical story of Sodom and Gomorrah, cities destroyed for their moral corruption. Such portrayals contribute to the Western fixation of the perceived excesses of Eastern metropolises. Even today we have stories of plastic surgery hubs in Istanbul and the decadent behaviors of the wealthy Saudi princes that flies over porn stars and influencers from around the world. Given these Orientalist tropes, you will be surprised to learn that the Blood Elves are in fact white, even albino-like. This contrast hints at the darker side of Orientalism found in Nazi occultism. The Nazis believed in an Aryan master race with origins in Asia, pointing to ancient Indian depictions of a white aristocracy with dark-skinned servants. They adopted the swastika, originally a Hindu symbol, as their national emblem. The Blood Elves' aesthetics carries traces of fascism in their militarized society, exemplified by regimented guards that patrol the streets. The Blood Elf name was chosen to honor their fallen kin and evokes the Nazi slogan, "Blood and Soil," reinforcing the idea of a superior lineage and racial superiority that drives them to form alliances with anyone who can help them maintain their dominance. Following the demonic invasion and the end of the ancient Elven Empire, the Blood Elves lost the Sunwell, their source of magical power. To replace it, they captured a Naru, an angelic being from the Warcraft universe. Unlike the cherubic cupids of Western tradition, the Naru resemble the seraphim from ancient Semitic texts, interlocking wheels with eyes and wings. The name Naru likely derives from the Babylonian word Nuru, meaning fire. The Naru is held captive in the Hall of Blood, a dark dungeon in the heart of Silvermoon. The hall serves as the headquarters for the Blood Knights, an elite group of paladins who draw their power from the imprisoned Naru. In other words, holy knights fighting on behalf of a Lucifer-like fallen angel. My analysis of the Blood Elves in World of Warcraft reveals a dark undercurrent, the portrayal of a white superior race ruling over an Oriental city. The Blood Elves' architecture, with its bazaars, minarets, and ornamentation, merges with European Romanticism, particularly that of Art Nouveau, the standard style of elves across fantasy since The Lord of the Rings. In the real world, a building that most closely resembles Silvermoon is the Royal Pavilion in Brighton. Built during the height of the British Empire, the pavilion's Indo-Islamic exterior was created by architects who had never traveled to Asia, resulting in a distorted interpretation of Eastern design. The structure exemplifies how Western designers have appropriated and altered Eastern aesthetics, but built for a white ruling class. The point of this video is by no means to condemn the designs of Blood Elves. In fact, the Blood Elves are what inspired me to start researching Elven architecture in the first place. World of Warcraft, as seen as a piece of art, showcases certain ideas embedded in our culture. It is for us, the audience, to unpack them and to learn more about ourselves. Thank you for watching my video. If you found it interesting, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments down below.